like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity with Amish. And so, Luke, what's our question for today?
Well, being Amish, how do you know with a close knit, I think close knit community, how do you know when to savor a relationship, and then how do you know when to savor it or to blow it up, and, like, not deal with a person?
Yeah. So, um, that's the same challenge we have in the English community, you know, in the in the Baptist community too. And so Amish are not alone in that. When you figure out that answer, if you could let me know, because I'm still working on it myself, and I don't feel that I have a good answer for that, but I'll give you the best I've got. But it's got a
Okay.
lot more work on it. This one's going to be, in the, read at your own risk. We'll probably create a new one, a new category for friendships. And so, but this one could get a little bit rough, a little bit mucky here, in what we're doing. And so friendships. So I've created I was introduced to the concept on in Nashville at a client of ours years ago, where he top graded his friendships. And what that meant is he went ahead and listed out all of his friends, and then he put them in groups, categories, his best friends, and I don't know, second, third, some friends he get together once a year with. And so he put them into categories, which I thought was really cool. And so this is actually kind of something I've created for myself. And so people say they want to be friends with me, or they want to get to know me or something. And it's like, I remember once we were going to a new church, and we were in a small group, at church, and it was a couple small group, and I don't know, 5, 6 couples probably. Um, and I have a whole bunch of rules that I have created for myself to really protect other people, because I'm a little different, I guess, in how I think. But anyways, we're in the group. One of those rules is, if I'm part of a group of other people, I typically don't say anything unless I'm invited to speak. And then even then, I often still don't speak. Anyways, 20 minutes into the first small group, they're couples talking about the Bible. This is for church and stuff. And the leader, everybody's participating. I'm just sitting there, and the leader says, "Mark, we haven't heard anything from you." And I said, "Mm-hmm." And he said, "We'd really like to hear from you." And I said, "Yeah, I think I'll pass." I was nice. I wasn't rude or anything. And he pressed me hard. He's like, "Mark, we really want to hear from you." I'm like, I prefer to pass. And he kept pushing. He says, and I kept resisting. And he said, "Mark, we really want to get to know you." And I looked at my wife. She looked at me. We both smiled, and she looked at him, and she said, "Trust him. You don't want to get to know Mark." This was not degrading of me. This was just an understanding. This was just an understanding my wife had on the intensity, because I can ask one question and it can just blow up everything, or it can disrupt everything. So, when people say, "I want to be your friend," it's like I'll often point them to this and say, there's 4 levels of friendship with me. Level 1, you're going to like me. And so it's pretty easy, I have found. Maybe it's because I'm an, international speaker and author. So I get up in front of hundreds of people, and I talk. And when you're talking in front of hundreds of people, you learn how to get the whole crowd. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Um, Not sure why, but somehow I know, like, I know how, like, if you say nice things to people, they're going to like you. And, And so Amy XIE went ahead and, for 3 months, she's from China. And so she's part of a coffee connection. Definitely join coffee connections. Especially if you're a business owner, hands down, join it. But even if you're not a business owner, I'd still join. Husbands, wives, bring your kids. I like to bring my grandkids, because there's so much richness in community and interaction and stuff like that. And so Amy XIE, I met her through Coffee Connections, and she just thought I was the greatest thing in the world for 3 months. Everybody she'd meet me, everybody she'd introduce me to, all of her Chinese friends. She said, "Mark, he's the nicest guy and he's the smartest American I've ever met." I mean, she'd say that about other Americans too, which was fine, kind of funny. But anyways, until 3 months into it, and then I told her something she didn't want to hear. And man, did she get mad. She's all angry. She's like, "Hey, you don't understand Chinese." Like she's really ticked at me. And I started laughing. I guess you're not supposed to do that. But I have social autism. So I don't know. It's like, I say one thing you don't like and you're going to get all ticked at me. Really? Why don't you be curious? So I laughed and I said, "Amy, that's interesting. You say I don't understand Chinese. Um, because you know what? When my oldest daughter, Ginger Ann, and she was 11. We were over in Russia. You know what the Russians said about me? You don't understand Russian. My son Jonathan, when he was 13, he and I went over to Africa. And you know what they said over there? You don't understand Africans. My wife says, you don't understand women. My kids say, you don't understand kids. Everybody, everybody says you don't understand.
Is that does that give them room to make an excuse?
Yeah, because they get to dismiss what you're saying. They get to dismiss what you're saying. So, like if the Amish say something to the English can say, you don't understand because you're not English. If the English say something to the Amish, then the Amish can say, you don't understand because you're not, I'm sorry, they wouldn't say that. They'd be like, they wouldn't say anything. They'd probably just smile and just write you off underneath. And so we tend to, if you say something to women, if you're a man, women will dismiss you. If a woman says something to a man will dismiss a woman. It's just like Elaine Yoder. She's amazing. Her business sense, but I've seen a lot of men, she's Amish, and I've seen a lot of men and dismiss her. And it's like she has more natural God-given skills than most men have in decades of experience about business and about people. But people dismiss other people and they don't understand how much we're losing. So, people will like me, Luke, people will like you when you tell them what they want to hear. Level 2 is I'll irritate you or I'll make you angry. Like there's the first business guy, the first business owner, Amish business owner that I met. I won't name his name because I don't want to harm him or say anything bad about him. I'll just say the first business guy is successful. He responded to the Alaska ad. It was the most intriguing thing. And then he wanted to come and work as a maintenance, but he owned this really successful business. And it was perplexing. And so we went over there and we met him and he introduced us to his wife and family and his parents. And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And then, said some things to him that he didn't like. And it's like, he took everything that, all the advice and business stuff and didn't pay a dime, which again was fine, whatever. But I get the feeling that he's saying stuff about me, which is really sad, mostly for him. This isn't going to turn out well for him. And, so in level 2, Mark's going to irritate you. What's weird, Luke, about me and my personality is, like people will think that I don't like people will think I'm mean when I'm telling them the truth. Like the Bible says, truth in love. Who gets to decide the love? It's the recipient. Well, the recipient's just going to get ticked if you say anything. It doesn't matter how you say it. You can say it as gentle and as nice as you can. And it often just it doesn't work. People just don't, all people, English and Amish. Like human nature is such. Like we went last year or last week to vacation to the Ark in Kentucky. That was really cool. Man, I'd like to go back again. Went with our 5 grandkids and my daughter and her son. That was just really neat. But human nature is human nature. And so people will think that I'm a jerk when I'm sharing something to them, mean, nasty, I'm a jerk. And it's like, okay, when I'm really being nice, I'm not stupid. I know they're going to go ahead and, not like me. I know they're probably going to talk to my wife and my kids if they can and talk to all my associates, and they're going to attack me. And people think that I'm nice when I'm really not. I can see weaknesses. So God's given me the same gift he gave my mom, and that's a seer. Joe Reed affirmed that, validated that. He affirmed that years ago. He says, Mark, you're a seer. I said, Joe, what's a seer? He says, you see things in the past that people don't see. You see things in the present that people don't see. You see things in the future. It's not magical or mystical. It's just a lot of his personality, the driver personality. If you haven't had your 30-minute gift strategy session, you can take a 3-minute personality assessment. And I'm telling you, this stuff will tell you strengths, weaknesses, what you like, what you don't, turns you on, turns you off. If you're married, who you're married to, conflict of marriage. This thing tells you more about yourself in 3 minutes than it's really cool. So I have to make, for me, Luke, you know, you don't have to blow up a relationship. You can just let it kind of go. But then, you think about it, Luke,
Yeah.
if you don't tell the person, likely nobody else, are you really being a true friend if you don't say it? You know,
I was thinking about that. And if you say something like, are they going to listen? Is it is that the best value of my time?
see,
If
but
I
this is what I like about you. This is what I like about the Amish. And it's in general, I'm not talking all Amish. This is important. Like when I say Amish, I'm not taking all Amish all the time. This is good or bad. So this is positive or negative if you look at that. But to me, the Amish seem to be a lot more curious than the English are. They seem to be more interested in learning and growing. Not all Amish all the time, but as a general rule, I think that's true. But but like you're thinking. And so you and I, you're going to be an expressive personality. I'm going to be a driver. So you and I are going to tend to go ahead and take more risks socially. You'll take even more risks socially and tell people the truth. And what's weird, Luke, is sometimes you'll think that's going good when it goes bad, and sometimes you think it's going bad when it goes good. I mean, this is the thing about life. Like it's complicated. I mean, you have the short term. So you have, the present right here in the moment. You have the short term, long term, and you have the past. Like, um, like Alvin Miller. Uh, he wouldn't mind me sharing this. You know, he's the owner of the Mercantile, and he and I were talking. So he's, I think he's Mennonite now, but I'm not sure. But used to be Amish, grew up Amish. And the stories he has to tell are just amazing. They're life changing. And so he said, we were in a real estate, transaction deal. And, he has two realtors there. I have a realtor, and then I have two partners. And he and I just started talking. He just kind of teared up. And I love that. And then, he and I had coffee later and I asked him, why, if I could ask. And he said, when he was in front of everybody, he's like, yeah, I kind of went astray and somebody brought me back around. So I asked him, I thought it was maybe during Roomspringer, where, and I asked him, I said, was that during Roomspringer when you were a teenager? He's like, actually, no, it was when I was in second grade. I mean, how far can you go astray in second grade? The guy's brilliant. We need to get him on here because the things that he could share about just human nature, but also about Amish, the good and some of the maybe weaknesses. And so he went ahead and said, when he was in second grade, he had this huge anger issue, and a 15-year-old girl came up to him. So he's Amish. He's in an Amish school, I believe. It's a one-room schoolhouse, all the different grades, which I think is a superior way to educate people. Anyways, he said a 15-year-old girl came up to him and talked to him as if he was an adult, like he was a peer, and talked to him about his anger issues, and that changed his whole life. So how many times and we think we're being nice by not telling people, but we're really being selfish. And when we go ahead and we say the person's not going to listen to us, what are we doing? We're being arrogant. We're judging that person and saying that person isn't going to listen to me. There's a Navy and sniper principle, Luke, that's pretty cool. And so if you have 4 or 5 people in a group, who's got the best position to present the information to the person in a way that the person will listen to? And so, you and I did a podcast. This last week, and you're thinking about passing along that podcast, to this friend. So, you're a true friend to me. Like you're, from my perspective, you're a true friend. Like,
Why is that?
because you're working, you're like, should I say something or shouldn't I? Should I just distance myself from the person? And sometimes that works because the person will come back and say, why are you distancing yourself from me? A lot of people will use me, Luke, as the person who, speaks the truth to somebody, because then they'll get mad at me. Part of it, okay, it's fine. Like, whatever, get mad at me if you want to. And so it's not an easy answer. There is the next dimension principle in friendship, in life. And so, the next dimension principle, what's the higher number? Like, rate your friendship 1 to 10. And so if somebody goes ahead and gives it a 9, we think that's higher than a 2. Why? Because we think in one dimension. So my wife and I are celebrating our 40th anniversary coming up in August this year. And man, I tell you, we have so much, like the more I learn about women, the more I know I don't know. The more I learn about marriage, the more I know I don't know. The more I learn about my wife, the more I know I don't. Man, she's a curious person. Like, but it's cool. It's a lot of fun. And so, here, why we think in one dimension, but there's multiple dimensions. And so once you hit a 10, you move to a new dimension. So a 2 in the next dimension is actually higher than a 9 in the previous dimension. So you want a deep relationship, and you have to take, you have to work hard, you have to take risk, and you have to go ahead and sacrifice. So do you care enough about the person to put the friendship at risk? And so, that individual doesn't understand. I'm guessing he does not understand he does not understand how good of a friend you are. That's a shame. So when you go through this, when you break through to a new dimension, you need a cheerleader, somebody to encourage you, like a toddler goes ahead and, a toddler goes ahead and falls down. Nobody says you'd never walk again in your life. So we don't take risk, especially in certain communities like the Amish community. They don't tend to take risk in telling people the truth, it seems to me. But that was the same thing in the Baptist community I was a part of. You don't tell people, you're not honest with them. It's like, that's a shame. Now, once you go ahead and break through to new dimension, then you go ahead and, you get your leader, then the teacher, and say, this is, what kind of friend does he want to be? You don't have to blow up the friendship. You don't have to blow up the friendship. You just go ahead and, but again, people make that choice, right? They make the choice if they're going to blow it up. And often, if you go ahead and tell them something that they don't want to hear, they're going to blow up the relationship because they don't want to hear it. The next level is a coach, like a baseball or softball coach or volleyball coach. And so it's somebody who's going to tell you the truth or bench you. Then the highest level is the Navy SEAL. And these are people that you don't ever hear them say nobody's perfect. You don't hear a Navy SEAL say everybody makes mistakes. You just don't hear that. You just don't. You just don't hear it. And so, what kind of a friend do you want to be? Do you want to be a cheerleader and just always encouraging the person? It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're probably not going to have deep friendships. You have a lot of people, they'll all like you, but I don't know. Do you want to be a teacher friend? I mean, there's a number of people in my life, they're always teaching. They want to teach everybody else, but they struggle with learning themselves. And then there's a level 3 friend, and that's, like a coach, like it's like you're gonna have, discussions back and forth. You're gonna challenge one another. And then a level 4, so this is the ball, this is the, cube, this is the wavy lines, this is amiable, analytic, and expressive. And then often the one you're going to have the deepest relationship, if you can survive, is the driver personality, because they're just going to be very direct with you, kind of built like that. And so those are the people that care. They care more about you than they care more about you as a person than they do the friendship. Most people care more about the friendship than they do about you. And so, and that's not wrong. It's just you're not going to have an honest, true friendship. Does that make sense, Luke?
Yes.
Questions on that?
I don't, or not off the top of my head.
All right. So if you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session. And, this one's in the, category of the podcast for Amish. But when you think about it, it's not just, right Amish, it's just human beings. It's just human beings. And so when we understand, so share this with other people. Share it with, if you're Amish, share it with your English friends because they'll appreciate it. Like they just will. Because it's like, that's the same challenge we have in the English too. And so if you have any questions on anything that we covered in today's podcast, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630, or inside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, share this with 2 other people Like it's an interesting podcast. It's an interesting question. Like Luke, it's like he comes up with the coolest questions. So always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.